Hello, my name is Francesco Luna, and this is going to be my final project on disruptive innovation for our class ESOC 318. I titled my project Capturing Disruption, a History of the GoPro and its Disruptive Nature. I decided to do GoPro as my topic because I wanted to do something different, not pick something ordinary, so I thought GoPro would be a little out of the ordinary and also a little cool to talk about because it is disruptive in its nature and it's also a little bit out of the norm. So content of this presentation is going to be what is a disruptive innovation. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the GoPro, how it came to be, why it is a disruptive innovation. I'm going to try and hit that point hard as I didn't do too well in my mini project talking about it. I'm also going to talk a little bit about McLuhan's The Medium is the Message, implications on the present, and also implications it has on the future. So what is a disruptive innovation? I think the best way I was able to capture this was through this video, which we are going to watch a little bit right now.
What exactly is disruptive innovation?
A disruptive innovation is not a breakthrough innovation that makes good products a lot better. But it has a very specific definition. That is, it transforms a product that historically was so expensive and complicated that only a few people with a lot of money and a lot of skill had access to it. A disruptive innovation makes it so much more affordable and accessible that a much larger population have access to it.
So as you guys can see through Clayton, which was kind of one of the first, he's kind of the one that termed the word, a disruptive innovation is something that wasn't accessible, but it was also not affordable to most people. And he basically explained that when something is disruptive, it's not necessarily something that has come to being that is so innovative, but it has to be something that is acting on something that was already created but has made it more affordable and more accessible so that it's available to more people. So another reading that we had was How Useful is the Theory of Disruptive Innovation by Andrew King, and he say that the dilemma companies face is that they want to keep up with the competition of people that are developing innovations, but they also at the same time want to make money and they want to keep their investors happy, so they're trying to do the same thing. So it's a dilemma where they're wondering, do we take risk and try something new, or do we keep doing what we're doing? So just like he said, by doing the very things they need to do to succeed, listen to customers, invest in the business, and build distinctive capabilities, they run the risk of ignoring rivals with disruptive innovations. A disruptive innovations road is paved by the companies that come before it and are hesitant to change due to profitability concerns and fear of change. So just as I mentioned, as they're hesitant, they want to keep making money and they don't want to mess up their success, these innovative businesses come through and they take over because of the fact that they're risky and they're willing to try something new, and there's a niche for a market that they see they could do better. Another thing on what is a disruptive innovation. So this was a great chart I liked in one of our weekly readings. Basically the red is the product performance trajectories with customer demand trajectories in the blue, and it shows that as something's created earlier, that first red line, you can see it's earlier than a disruptive trajectory, so it starts earlier and it gets better, it goes to the high end of the market. But a disruptive tech, the second red line, you can see that it starts at the lower end after the first one in a time, on the time frame. On the lower part it shows time, on the left side it shows product performance. So as you can see, it starts after, but it starts on the lower end of the market and stays low and stays within the mainstream. So it stays in the affordability, makes it more accessible to everyone, and it also improves on the things that the previous trajectory or the previous product didn't do as well. So again, a disruptive innovation is a new innovation or tech that modernizes an existing model and makes it more affordable and accessible. It's originally not accepted or preferred, but eventually becomes the leader in its category, and it paves the road for future innovation. So not only is the present it's doing well, but it also down the line paves the way for other future innovations. So I wanted to start off with the GoPro, how it's a disruptive innovation, so that now as we go forward and talk about the GoPro, we can piece together how it is a disruptive tech. So the GoPro was founded in 2002 by Nick Woodman. He was a surfing enthusiast that was traveling the world and saw a need to capture his surfing experiences. He needed a waterproof case. He needed something small, accessible, and something that didn't cost a lot, because otherwise he would just get someone to record him. So he started with a 35mm camera and a wrist strap made from old wetsuits and plastic scraps. That's Nick Woodman up top in the picture. He also developed this in China for $3 and sold it for $30, so he was already profitable. But the first camera was really, just really beginner. It could only take photos, very cheap. It was, you could use it multiple times, but it was using literally Kodak film. Slowly started to get better. In 2006, it transitioned to digital with the Digital Hero, but it had limited audio and video. I think it was only able to record like 10 seconds, so it was very limited. But by 2007, as they started to get more sales, they started to improve their tech. By 2007, the Digital Hero 3 was released and allowed for unlimited audio and video, and that paved the road for GoPro to succeed. The next coming years, they started to develop the Hero 1, which was basically the first camera that could record continuously, 720p video, accessible, small, waterproof, everything that you need for action shots. GoPro has now sold over 26 million GoPro cameras and counting, and continues to be one of the top performers, especially after they beat out competitor Cisco, which was that flip camera that we had back in the late 2000s. So now we talked a little bit about GoPro, its history. Let's talk about why it's a disruptive innovation. So Woodman saw an enthusiast. He was an enthusiast that saw a market for recording action shots. And again, he saw that he could not afford what was out there for action shots, and he could not afford a camera crew to film him. So he saw a need. He saw a niche in the market for something that could work. So before it was an overpriced and not effective, he did see some models that were not waterproof. It was too expensive. And then he decided to make the GoPro, which was affordable, user-friendly, and functioning great. The GoPro allows a much larger population access to this market. So just as we discussed from the video, you saw that he mentions that something was super expensive and not functioning well. The innovation, what makes it disruptive, is something that's more affordable and functions better than what had previously worked, allowing for a much larger population to access this market. Then it soon becomes the mainstream. It eventually succeeds so well that it pushes out the previous one, which is what GoPro has done. So this is some history. This is actually a driver of F1. It's Jackie Stewart, and you can see he's got a big camera on his head with a battery pack. Not very realistic. This is actually Steve McQueen, nicknamed King of Cool. He had a duct tape to his helmet motorcycling. You could see all the duct tape. It wasn't, I don't think, ever used in actual race, but he did use it. And again, I'm just trying to develop the trend that's showing that there was a market that wasn't working, but it was there. People wanted to get these action shots. In the 80s, we have the Canon, which introduced the CI-10. Apparently, it was no bigger than a pack of cigarettes, and the price tag was $1,000 for one of these. But one thing that really came that GoPro liked was the size of this. It was about the size of a pack of cigarettes, as I mentioned. The 90s came about the helmet. So this is sports helmets pretty much, in particular. It didn't really go for snowboarding helmets and stuff. This was footballers that wanted the audience to see a first-person view. So the NFL and some investors ended up making a helmet cam. I wanted, again, the audience to develop an at-home feeling, but it was $20,000 per unit. So obviously not very accessible for the mainstream, just for professionals and big organizations. It also required antennas and cables for the helmet, so they had to literally plug it, download it, and all that. And here we go. This is the inventor of GoPro, and you see his first model. He has it just like as mentioned with wetsuit straps and ties, and it's his first model before the case was put on. And here it is. That's the finished product of the first model. Used Kodak film, waterproof case that's already on it. Initially something that only full-time photographers could afford, but as you can see now, it came with 35 millimeter Kodak film and a waterproof case that allowed him to use it and paved the way for his future innovations. So now that we talked about what a disruptive tech is, how GoPro was a disruptive tech, a little bit about its history and how there was a place for it in the market, I wanted to talk a little bit briefly about Mick Luhan's The Medium as a Message and how the GoPro applies. So Professor Smith said it best in one of his Slack discussions that today's world, elections are decided in the cyberspace. The internet has become the medium to communicate the message dependent on the user. GoPro, the product, it's a product of the message, and the message is actually a digital world of connectivity, networking, and sharing experiences. So the way I think of it is now we're connected more than ever with Instagram, social networks, Twitter, all that stuff, that everyone wants to be connected, and GoPro has allowed us to record things that could never be seen before, action shots in the water, surfing waves, snowboarding, skydiving, things that weren't possible before, and it's now in the hands of everyday users. I mean, anyone that's saved up a little bit can purchase one, so it's really become a disruptive tech that has changed the way we capture moments. Implications on the present. Role in my life is capturing moments that would have never been possible before. I've used this on soccer scrimmages, soccer practice, snowboarding. I've used a similar version, which was paved, the road was paved for that through GoPro, but it was more sturdy, meant for fire, and that was fire cam. So a fire cam is, again, a disruptive tech that came from GoPro, and that has allowed me to capture photos in fires and in training. I believe it's a vehicle for smartphones and other tech to develop similar models, because now people are starting to come about and want to make drones and all kinds of photo and recording devices. Society continues to be more and more connected. So I believe on the present, again, we love that networking that's keeping people together, recording each other and ourselves and sharing it with our friends and family. And just as I mentioned, it's footage that is never before seen, and it's now accessible. It's created more activity among our society. So I think one of the biggest things is GoPro has created videos that have been posted and allowed people to see things that they could possibly be interested in. And I think GoPro has allowed our society to experiment with these things and allow people to try it out and say, hey, I want to go snowboarding. That looks awesome, Implications on the future. I believe networking and recording is going to get bigger and bigger. We're in the present of drones, FaceTime, YouTube, and Ring that has come from these GoPro and YouTube type innovations. Law enforcement and fire, as I have discussed, everything's recorded now. I work in the fire department where we work hand in hand with law enforcement, and they have the body cams that are all recorded now. The near future, I see VR improvements to where the graphics and the video quality given by GoPro is going to improve VR and almost seem realistic when you're in VR. And I also think 360 experiences are going to be improving. Possibly in education, we'll be seeing drastic 360 cameras that will be literally, you can immerse yourself in an environment such as training, like for me, fire, maybe a 360 camera that could be used, and as I'm going through VR, I can be in an environment where I feel like I'm in a fire. The distant future, I see completely wireless and free recording and even AI. So maybe this GoPro, this idea of recording and being able to be in the moment will create AI that can do everything and can record everything without even us downloading. From week 7's reading, the job pool for recording has already diminished drastically due to these personal recording devices, so there's no need for recording people now. We have the GoPro that we could do it ourselves. Future jobs, completely virtual and robotic recording, so I see in the near future maybe we don't even need people that record stuff, paid photographers and whatnot. This is just a bibliography of all the sources I did, and that is it. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you liked it.